Welcome to the Nerdiverse. Go ahead, sit and listen to the masters, the old heads, talk about what you love the most. Video games, comics, movies, and everything you need to maintain your week. Got the knowledge that's straight out the ether. Gonna need a drink and have to take a seat to expand your mind and listen to the speaker. Mike and the squad's gonna give you what you need. Please send in a question, come and get some answers, learn a couple lessons from the masters with the special guests. We got the green lanterns glowing on their chest. Yes, please sit back and relax, cause we're gonna hit you with them stone cold facts. And allow me to be the very first to welcome you to the masters of the Nerdiverse. Welcome back, you ghouls and goblins. We have arrived with once again another MOTN Top 10. I am, of course, the man himself that is too much of a boy for Crazy Town, Mike G. And I'm welcoming back the magnum opus, the one that is too crazy for Boys Town, Tootie Odin. What's going on?
We can't both be too crazy for Boys Town.
I'm too much of a boy
Can
for
we?
Crazy. I'm too much of a boy for Crazy Town. You're too crazy for Boys Town. Is how it goes.
Okay. Oh, I like that. Yeah, okay. That works.
You know what I'm saying? In the
That was good.
spirit, yeah. Our episode is a little bit more festive because we have autumn leaves up. Yo, look at them.
Ooh,
Look at them
fancy,
flourish.
highly. So pretty.
Fancy. The sound of leaves. And we're gonna do this.
That's what leaves sound like, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. You know, because plants can talk. That's what leaves are saying to us. They're chanting at us all the time. And it's real creepy, but we can't hear it. So it's fine. You know what I mean? Speaking of creepy, we're here to keep in the Halloween festivities with one of the greatest ongoing television specials of all time. Probably the greatest, if you ask me. And that is, we're going to be showing love and giving our top 10 of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. I'm so excited for this one. This is
Me
one that
too, yay.
this was what this was an idea that we were just kind of like, I don't see it often online. You know what I mean? I don't see many best treehouse. There's all types of writing pieces and think pieces, but like video essays, I don't see a lot. How about you, Toots?
I avidly look for them, so I find them when I'm looking. But there's not too many. There's definitely not too many out there. There's the
Um,
basic ones. I think Miss Mojo has a top 10 Treehouse of Horror, but it's of the later seasons. It's not
the
like you can
OGs.
tell that some of these casts that do it or whatever, these channels that do it, they didn't grow up with the show.
They're on the
So it's a
younger
little
side.
like on their surface, you know?
This is the boomer edition right here. This is
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
well, no, come on.
Come
Come
on.
on, guys. We're not that old.
Yeah, we all
Ooh,
right.
wow.
Man, we were around during
Yeah,
that
my
Reagan
daughter, my
era.
daughter loves reminding people that I'm 40 years old. My mom's 40. Mom, remember when you're 40? It's like,
Nice.
oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
she's
the
great.
universe reminding you. Uh,
Mm.
I think
Nope,
the
just my
art,
daughter.
just my daughter. That's awesome.
Yep.
The doing the Lord's work. You know what I
The
mean?
Lord's work.
The Lord. Um, I think the TV special is a lost art, right? They just don't do them anymore. I think because for the most part, sitcoms are kind of dead in our modern age, so you don't see a lot of specials. You know what I mean? And one thing as a kid you will look forward to is the Halloween special. There's only like a handful of shows that did it. If I remember, The Simpsons was going to do it. I think Home Improvement used to do it a lot. Like Roseanne would do Halloween specials. I want to say like Family
Family
Matters.
Matters has a bunch.
Exact. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the infamous Boy Meets World one where Sean's the villain. Like, I don't know. That one
I
was
don't remember that
unforgettable.
one. I don't remember.
Yeah, man. Like they're all being chased by a Scream like character, and including Sean, but it turns out it is Sean. Like he's his own worst enemy. It got real deep. It was
Scream
weird.
before Scream. It was Scream before Scream.
Yeah, Scream before Scream, basically. Yeah,
I just remember
yeah, it was
like
pretty cool.
the one that the non Simpsons one that sticks to my brain is the Home Improvement one, where I think Tim the Two Man Taylor is chasing the kids around the house with a chainsaw, and they're playing like in Nagata de Vita. That's one of the very first times I heard that song, and they're playing
That's fun.
don't you know that I'm loving you? And it's like
I
it's
don't
all
remember that,
creepy,
but that's
and
fun.
the mom's head is like in the microwave or something crazy, you
Oh, I
know?
do remember that. I don't remember
Yeah,
Ingata Vita, but I remember that part.
I
Yeah, they
think we were
scared the
playing
crap out of those
something.
kids.
Yeah, those kids were freaking out, man, and it's like,
You know who else has good Halloween episodes is Modern Family. I don't know if you've seen Modern Family, but
woo!
man, their Halloween episodes are epic as hell.
I
So much
love
fun.
Halloween.
Also Brooklyn Nine-Nine has great Halloween episodes. I was recently introduced strictly to the Halloween episodes because they kind of have their own storyline throughout
I
every
gotta check
season,
it
which is
out.
really neat. Yeah, it's
I
so cool.
I love series that keep it up. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna do Halloween specials, and some of them are so smart they even have a through line. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna have to check those out because I haven't seen those. What is your history with the Treehouse of Horror? Did you start with the very first one? Did you catch on later seasons? How did you get introduced to them?
No, we absolutely started with the very first one. The when the Simpsons came out, I've mentioned the story in previous casts. You can go ahead and dig around and look for them on the MOTN website.
Listen to all
But
the
my history with
episodes.
the Simpsons itself is my dad came home one day with the VHS tape of the very first episode, which was a Christmas episode, because he had just got done doing work at what's her name, Tracy Ullman's house.
Nice.
He installed her security cameras and security alarm system and stuff. So she autographed it. She gave it to him and he said, "Here, guys, this is for you." And at the time, The Simpsons was not considered a cartoon for kids. I know plenty of my friends that were not allowed to watch it, but we
Hmm.
were. So yeah, I'm lifelong since the day it came out. In fact, probably before it came out because it was a pilot episode. Um, I'm sure she had no faith in it, which is why she was so quick to give it away to my dad. So this was probably even before The Simpsons was even thought about to be on Fox. This was still while The Simpsons was on Tracy Ullman, and she just kind of gave him a prototype
Isn't
of
that
the
such
pilot
a
episode, and I've been involved with The Simpsons ever since. So day one for the Treehouse of Horrors for sure.
isn't it such a special feeling as a kid to be a part of something before it became a thing? Like
Yeah,
it reminds me of like seeing like I went to Frankensons with my dad to see Batman the animated series like a summer before it came out. And it's one of the most special, like a hold in my heart moments because I was watching episodes before any of my friends and they didn't think it was real. They thought I was lying to them. Man, there's this cool
it's weird
Batman
because
cartoon
nobody
coming out.
believes you.
Yeah, this is cool Batman cartoon coming out.
Yeah,
You guys aren't ready. No, Mike, you're lying. And it's like, no, me and my dad saw it. It was like a whole year till it came out. I was just waiting. And it's like this special feeling where you're just before the cusp, right? You're like you got to see it before anybody else. That kind of feeling, And it's hard to come by nowadays because just the way that media is provided to us, there is no, outside of like Comic-Con secret backdoor, where you can be like, yeah, man, I got to see this before it became a thing, or I got to be on the cutting room floor of XYZ. But yeah, like
and the thing
Treehouse.
about that is like it's pretty easy to accomplish now. There's so many people that can do that leak, and it's really easy now because of the social media and because of the internet to involve yourself in an early project and understand that it's gonna like have this massive response. But back then there was none of that. It was always going to be hit or miss, and we were fortunate to catch these things that the wave caught on and it became this cult phenomenon, which I
Yeah,
think is pretty fortunate. You won't have that today.
no,
You
you
won't really
won't.
have that experience. Even if you were attached to Game of Thrones from day one, or Squid Games before it became popular, even in those endeavors, like it's not really the same. It's not,
It's
because I
it's
don't
not
know.
the
It's
same
just not. It's
vibe
short
because
lived.
it's very short lived because there's no almighty internet to just kind of take the wind out of your sails. You had some time to chew
Hmm.
on it and be like, yeah, man, I got to see this first day, or I got to ride Tower of Terror before anybody else, that kind of
We did actually.
feeling.
We did. You and I did.
Yeah, yeah, with the
We
Imagineers
actually
and all
did get
that.
to ride Tower of Terror before anybody else did.
Yeah, it's just
We're
it's
old.
it we're super old, Doug. Speaking of
We're
old,
old because Tower of Terror is not even there anymore. Now it's Guardians. So
it's only at Florida. No, it's only at I think it's
yeah,
only at Disney World now. But speaking of
yeah.
things
Do you
owned by
remember riding
Disney,
Tower like absolutely blacked out though? Remember we
hmm
were just heard the gears, like
yeah,
just
it was so
nothing but
scary.
darkness, and we just heard the gears. Yeah, they just needed people on there for the wait, like to test it out.
That's the
Yeah,
wait.
I'll
It was
never
so
forget that.
early.
Yeah.
It was like pitch
Hmm.
black. We didn't know when it was
Yeah,
gonna
pitch
drop,
black,
dude.
and all you heard was the hydraulics, and like yeah, it was nuts. Yeah, good stuff. Oh,
Bruh,
we're cool, dude.
we're cool, dude. We're old and
We're
cool,
cool as
dude.
heck. I
We're
know.
cool
All
as
right, cool, man.
cool as hell. Let's get into these episodes. So if you're not aware on our top 10 structure, it's that Tootie's going to give her top five. I'm going to give my top five. Tootie's going to give her top four. I'm going to give my top four. And all together, it's going to come up to top 10, our combined top 10 ideas or choices, and a smattering of honorable mentions toward the end. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get into this list. Are you ready, Toots?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Look towards the skis. That has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to say it. Your
Yay.
top
Thank you.
five. Dial
Cool.
M
So
for
my top
murder.
five: dial M for murder, press pound to return to the main menu. Yes, that's the title. That's the entire title. It's
Entire
season
title.
21, Treehouse 20, and that came out in 2009. So in my list, like this is probably one of the older ones that came out because most of my list is very, very like early on. The nostalgia, the things that stuck to me because it came out at the right age. So
Hmm.
I'm going by my memory and the nostalgia of the episodes. So my list may not at all coincide with a lot of other diehard Simpsons fans. But and either way, nevertheless, um, I chose this one specifically because one, I love the story. That's one of my favorite tall tales to read ever. Um, I loved the movie. The movie was amazing, and this particular scene was one of my favorites because this is about Lisa getting really pissed off at Miss Hoover. I think she gave her a bad grade about something or was unfair with her about something, so she was like super pissed off at Miss Hoover. And her and Bart make an exchange as to how they're going to take revenge on each other's teachers, just like Dial M for murder. But the other person's going to do the other bad deed so that there's no trace. Like it's an untraceable move. Um, Lisa agrees. Bart ends up coming back and actually killing Miss Hoover, which was a complete misunderstanding of what Lisa actually wanted. That being said, the thing that got me about this episode is Bart was really proud. I mean, look at his face in that picture. He's really
Yeah,
proud of
yeah.
what he had just done. And Lisa's like, like beside herself. She's like, "No, Bart, that's not what I meant. You misunderstood." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean? What's wrong? Like, we took care of business." He's like not making the connection that this was not the right murder's bad. He was not making that connection at all. At the end of that, like, and this is just a really small scene, but at the end of that scene, he's basically like, "Well, it's done now, so I guess you still have to do your part." Like it never, there was no remorse. There was no, the kid is a sociopath, like an insane, like that's kind of been proven. I think there's been studies on Bart Simpson and his behavior to understand that he's probably a sociopath, but it
Yeah,
was
definitely.
just his reaction. He was so proud. He was like a cat bringing a mouse. And he was so like, "Lisa, look what I did. Like I got her. Now it's your turn, basically. Like now it's your turn. I did my job. Now it's you." So yeah, so disturbing. Definitely one of my favorites. Super, super memorable. And they did such a good job with it. The Simpsons does so good with these parodies, these old school parodies. They do a lot of Twilight Zone parodies with their Tree Houses of Horror. Um, it's amazing. The writing of these stories are just phenomenal. They really they really extend and really create when it comes to these tree houses of horror and in the best way possible. I think more so than in their regular episodes, but that's just personal opinion.
Yeah, I think, and you hit the nail on the head. A lot of these early ones are trying really hard to pay homage to what the source material is, because a lot of these are parody. I think there's only a few that are truly like original stories within the Treehouse of Horror kind of brick of content. And this one, like you said, Bart is just a sociopath, and he just does it with such a childish glee. And this is an episode I'm familiar with, but me and Tootie are both going off raw memory on these. And
I
you know,
purposely didn't rewatch any of them for that reason,
mhm,
though. So
yeah, absolutely. This is just one of those episodes I would say that just stand the test of time, especially like in the black and white. You know what I mean? Just that whenever
yeah,
cartoons
exactly.
do that aesthetic just knocks my socks off, I swear. Cool beans. All right, let's see.
Yeah, it was almost action for action. The actual movie with the train scene and all of it. It was so good, so well done. Your number five. Yay! Let's go.
My my number five from Treehouse of Horror 2, The Monkey's Paw, which grants five wishes. And Tootie would tell you that I quote this episode literally every single day, whether I want to or not.
Every day.
This is one of
Every
my
day.
favorite episodes because one, it's so silly that they just burn through these wishes so fast. They actually cancel out two wishes in one wish, if I remember correctly, because Bart had to correct himself, and then the hand kind of folded twice, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And of course, the quote I'm talking about is just them going to buy the monkey's paw from almost like the Gremlins esque shopkeeper, who is who tells them that the monkey paw is cursed, and they're like, "That's
Mhm.
bad," and they're like, "But it comes with free
But it comes
Frogan.
with a free Froger. That's good.
That's good, but the Frogan is also cursed.
That's
That's bad."
bad.
Cracks me up every single time.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so stupid, man. And it's from I think they call it like Bart is God because he's just like, and that's also part of this Treehouse of Horror too, where Bart is it's a play on the Twilight Zone episode of the kid in the cornfield where he turns Homer into like a jack o' lantern. You know what I mean? It's just a crazy episode, and also this monkey's paw is just one of my favorites, just because of that quote alone. Is that shallow that my number five this is so high on my all-time list just because of one quote or one moment of
No,
that
I don't think
episode?
so. I don't think so because you're well seasoned in age and it's still with you till this day. That's a huge deal.
I love it, man. I truly love it. Even looking at this picture, it just makes me damn laugh. I swear. Your number four.
Oh,
What we
that was
got?
quick.
Yeah, I'm telling
Okay.
you, like I love Monkey's Paw
That
because of
was
that
quick.
quote, and I'm not going to go into any deep dive.
All right.
It's just one of my favorite episodes.
All right. Okay. Well, you picked a good one. So there's that. So yay. Okay, so my number four, Bad Dream House, season two, Treehouse One, the very first Treehouse of Horror, which came out in
Yes,
1990.
get a
Which
taste.
is it came out during the second season. This is probably their best episode, if you ask me, altogether.
Woo.
Um,
Oh,
uh,
that's a hard
Ever.
one, yo.
Bad Dream House was such a good one. I spoke about this one before as an honorable mention in one of our last casts, where I think it was top scariest horror movie moments.
Hmm.
Um, didn't really count, but at the same time kind of does because this particular episode and given if you guys have never seen any of the Treehouse of Horrors, they're split into three stories. This is
Yes.
I have split my list into the stories themselves, not necessarily episode as a whole.
Hmm.
But this particular story is one of my favorites because they move into this amazing house. It's too good to be true. And at the end of it, or throughout the entire like 10-minute episode, the house is convincing each member of the family that nobody likes you. You don't even belong here. Like he's possessing them. The house is possessing each and every family member to basically turn on each other. For whatever reason, the house doesn't want them there. The house has warned them to get out, and they're like, no, we'll work with it. So they do. They end up trying to work with it at the end of the very first evening. It's almost Amityville. I think they're trying to
Yeah, it's a
parody
play on
Amityville, if you
Amityville
ask me.
horror. Hmm.
Right? Right. But this is exactly how the episode ends. Each one, three children and the two parents have a weapon, and they're literally pacing in a circle slowly. They're not even trying to kill themselves yet. They're just in this trance of possession, and they're just going around in a circle, like with their weapons, ready to kill. And I remember as a kid, that was like, oh, that's creepy as hell. Because
That's a little dark.
we don't it's very unheard of to watch a cartoon where it's super super creepy. We've seen the black and white ghosts and Mickey Mouse. He dunks the donut in the coffee, and it's like, oh my god, that looks delicious. So we've never really seen scary in cartoons. This is actually scary in cartoon, um, where it's like, oh, that's kind of like because it's the voice that the house uses. It's monotone. It's kind of soothing in its own way. He's very convincing, but very creepy, very deathly, and obviously, at the end of the episode, they don't end up killing each other. They snap out of it, um, and they end up leaving the house. But yeah, that's this number. This is definitely a number four. It probably could have been higher on the list, but I have others that I have to work with. But man, this one got me and still gets me to this day. In
Out
the
of the
same way,
gate, out of the gate, right? And it's funny when the cartoon stops being funny, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, that's kind of dark, for with your young
yeah,
brain trying to wrap around it. And you said that Treehouse of Horror, the first one, is probably the best of the series, complete episodes. You know what I mean? Especially out, and you may be right. I have a contention for another one that's going to come along on this list, which I think is the best Treehouse of Horror completely. But this one, and you kind of go right into it about just the chanting and like the circle of death and Marge just kind of coming in and see and breaking that all up in a bit of a way. I can see how that can get to you. And if you've read Amityville Horror or know anything about that true story, well, quote unquote, true, quote, kind of true depiction, I can see how that can get under your skin a little bit. You know what I mean? So here's to having a Treehouse of Horror on the list that's actually scary and not just funny and entertaining. That's kudos.
Hmm.
That's kudos.
Thank
If
you.
I'm gonna, what's the name of the two aliens? It's
Kudos
kudos
and Kang.
and Kang. Yeah, I was trying to
Yeah.
do a thing there.
I
Duty.
got you. I got it.
You feel me? You feel me? Okay. I'm not on an island. You know what I mean?
No, no,
Speaking
no.
of
You're
island,
good. I'm on the island with you. We're good.
thank you. Thank you so much. Speaking of islands and oceans, my number four is Treehouse of Horror 11's Night of the Dolphin. This is probably, I don't know how it made number four. It should have been honorable mention. But I love this episode so much because this is one that kind of freaked me out too as a kid because I didn't like the ending. You know what I mean? So what this episode is about is they go to like SeaWorld or something like that, right? And Lisa finds a dolphin named, I think his name is like Snorky or something like that. And she feels bad
Hmm.
for it because this is when Lisa was like in her I hate to say self-righteous, but kind of like holier than thou. I have to free the dolphin. It's trapped at SeaWorld. And she makes the biggest mistake of all time because she frees the dolphin. And you find out that Snarky just happens to be the king of the dolphins. And he's gonna take revenge on the on the surface dwellers or the land lovers and cause war between the dolphins and humanity. So Lenny goes out into the ocean and tries to he's just out into the beach and Starkey just immediately kills him. You know what I mean? And then looks at them and goes back into the ocean and comes back with an army of walking dolphins. It's so stupid. And they're marching down
my
Spring, you know?
my two favorite scenes in this episode. This is a quotable episode. This is a
Yeah.
great choice. Um, Lenny's in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, alcohol and swimming. There's no better combination. Or he says something to that sort, and then he actually gets brutally killed by the dolphins right
Yeah.
after that. And then somehow he pops up at the end of the episode. But what does he say? Alcohol and night swimming. There's no better combination or something like that. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like that. It was just hilarious. And then the other one is when Snarky actually does make it onto land, and he's about to make his speech, and then he starts off with Snarky
Lucky
or what? Snarky, talk, man.
man.
And then he has to clear his throat. He's like, he's like,
I love it.
eons ago.
Eons
He
ago.
starts
That
talking regular.
that okay, you just
That's
unlocked the childhood memory. Snarky
Yeah,
talk
that's
man.
definitely not forgettable. Yeah,
And then he
it's
clears his
so funny.
eons ago, dolphins had run the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what he does too.
Yeah, he's like humans will be banished to the sea, and us dolphins will rule the earth. And they kick every human on Earth into the ocean. You see like Marge and all of Springfield just floating on the beach, and the dolphins are just sitting are like lined up at the shoreline. You know what I mean? That scared me as a kid because it was like we can't swim. You know what I mean? I couldn't swim as a kid. So like that
Yeah,
idea,
it completely turned it into Waterworld. And then at the end, Marge kicks Krusty's floating body. Remember,
yeah,
they're like on the couch, and then she kicks his body. She's like, "Ew," and she just kicks
ew,
him away. Like,
yeah, he's floating
yeah, like that's
upside
so
down, like
creepy.
drowned.
Yeah, he's upside down. Yeah,
Snarky talk,
talk,
man.
man.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, this is my number 4. I love this damn episode. It's
that's
so
good.
good.
That's
It's so
good.
it's so randomly dark. It's just unnecessarily dark.
It
I
really
abs
is. Yeah, it's so
I
good.
I absolutely love it. Ooh, we're flying through this list here. Number three.
I'm
You have an
okay with it.
all-time great. You have an all-time great right here.
This one, all time great. Everybody knows the Shinnin, even if you've just seen the memes. It's called The
Don't you mean
Shining, but
don't you, don't you want to get
according to
sued?
Willie, it's called The Shinnin. You want to get sued?
You want
Yeah,
to get sued?
exactly. Um, season 6, Treehouse of Horror 5, came out in 1994. This one is well exactly what you see. It's a parody of The Shining. Um, Homer, takes over a giant hotel for Mr. Burns. The same exact things that happen in The Shining happened here in this episode, this little 10-minute episode. Um, One of the things that sticks out to me, and we've talked about this before in The Simpsons, in our Simpsons cast, is when Homer's in the food pantry and all the horror monsters come out and grab
Oh,
him out
it's
of the
so
food pantry.
Hellraiser's there,
That's
dude. Pinhead is
that's this
there.
episode. It's Hellraiser. It's or yeah, Pinhead. It's Freddy
It's Freddy
Krueger. It's Michael
Krueger.
Myers. It's the werewolf. And it's Frankenstein, I think. But no, it's prominent characters. I can't remember. I just remember Freddy Krueger and Hellraiser was Pinhead was there. But
Yes,
Jason,
I'm
I think. Anyway, so it's like it's actual horror characters in Simpson form. And they really quick, like for like a second and a half, they come in, they grab Homer out, and they pull him out, and that's it. Um, but that's like one of the coolest scenes in that one, and just completely like it's very quotable. No TV and no beer make
make
Homer
Homer
something
something
something.
something.
Uh-huh. Go
Crazy.
crazy.
Don't
Yeah,
mind
it's
if
so
I
it's
do.
yeah, it's so quotable. It's a classic, good one. Like you can probably walk up to anybody at any type of con and say that line, and they'll know exactly what you're talking about, which
I,
is really cool.
give me the bat. Give me
Very
the bat,
classic
bat, bat.
episode.
Give me the
Yeah, give me
bat.
the bat. Yeah.
Give me the bat, bat, bat. It's just yeah, that
Urge to
episode
kill.
rising.
What do you
Oh,
say?
to
Urge to
kill.
kill.
Lo-
Rising.
lowering.
Rising.
Lowering. Rising. Lowering. Lows
Hmm.
to kill. Gone.
Gone.
Extremely, extremely quotable. This is like what about you know what? You know what's funny? And we're gonna do like a little thing here. So Treehouse of Horror 5 is when this and it was when this first launched, right? My
Right.
number three is Time and Punishment from Treehouse of Horror 5. Three,
You
three,
quote
three.
this one all the time
I
also.
quote this. I at first, this was going to be the name of this particular slide was going to be "This is indeed a disturbing universe" because that's something I quote all the
Yes.
time. 'Cause this is like one of my favorite episodes. But I want to go with the theme of the actual title cards that they were called. So, Time and Punishment. Homer does something stupid to his toaster and accidentally makes a time machine. And the first time he jumps, he goes back to like the prehistoric era, right? I think he goes back to like I think he goes back to
Yeah.
he goes back to prehistoric era,
Yeah.
and he and it's so funny because he 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 beats he beats a giant butterfly with like a stick to death. Or he actually he keeps hitting the butterfly effect. So every time he goes back in time to
Yeah,
change something,
exactly.
the future changes, and it's these all these quick snaps of different realities that he's causing. The multiverse before the multiverse, where there's one where the,
Exactly.
the top of the house lifts up, and Bart and Lisa are giants, right? There's one where, of course, the one we're seeing here where Maggie slaughters the entire where groundskeeper Willie jumps out of nowhere and tries to explain. See, I'm gonna tell you how to fix the time travel. I'm gonna tell you how to fix it, and then he just gets an axe to the back by Maggie. And it's like, of
Now
course,
in this one, there's a continuity because in all three of the very different, very random episodes, for some reason Willie gets axed, and I think it
yes,
starts with the Shinnin because
that's what the
because
Shannon.
the black fellow who understands Danny Torrance and the and the regular Shining, ends up getting axed in the
Yep.
original movie. So Willie is playing that character in the Shinnin episode of The Simpsons, which is the very first part of this three-parter. So in each of the other two parts, the same thing happens to Willie for no reason
For no
whatsoever.
reason.
It's
He
actually
even
pretty
he,
cool.
he even
Yeah.
mentions it in an episode. He's like, in one of the parts, he even mentions it like, not he's like, not again when he gets
Yeah,
axed.
not again or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I and at the very last episode, he finds, and it's kind of funny that a lot of high science fiction. This is usually the response to the butterfly effect. he gets to a kind of normal reality, but the only difference is that everyone has lizard tongues, and they're using their lizard tongues
Hmm.
to eat their breakfast. And Homer's like, close enough. And he just starts eating with a knife and fork, and
Yeah.
the rest of the family. And that's like usually the response to most high science fiction is that you will never find home. You just find something as close to home as possible and kind of roll with it. You know what I mean?
And it's
And
so
I think
funny
that's so
because the
smart.
dimension right before that dimension, he ends up finding his family to be really normal. They're just doing normal things. They're eating breakfast at the kitchen table, and he's like, "Marge, hand me a donut." And she's like, "Donut? What's a donut?" And so he's
He freaks out.
horrified, and he's like screaming. He's like, "Ah!" He freaks out, and he goes back into the closet to go back in time and fix it. But as the camera cuts away to him, the closet door slams. It cuts back to Marge, and she says, "Oh no, it's raining again," and it's raining donuts.
It's raining donuts.
It's
He has
raining
the biggest
donuts.
freak
Yeah,
out
it's
because of
so
the
good.
donuts. You know what I mean? He has the
Yeah,
big freak
it's
out.
so funny.
I love this episode. It's one of my favorite
Yeah, it's
ones.
good.
And
Yeah,
to
good pick.
tie it all together, your number two
My
for
number
Tree.
two
Yeah.
is Nightmare Cafeteria, season 6, Treehouse 5, 1994. We're right here. We're doing it. Might as well get it. Keep it going. I love that we did this. So we basically give you the entire episode of season of
And,
Treehouse of
and,
Horror 5. This
and
is it
before
right
you
here.
start, this is my favorite. I think this is the best Treehouse episode of all time. Treehouse 5.
Okay, okay.
I can't argue
Hey,
one,
I can't.
but this can't
I
be
can't
argued.
argue 5.
I can't because just look at how it
Yeah.
fell.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like this is the
Yeah.
goated. See, this is the goated
Okay.
treehouse.
Oof.
You know what I mean?
Oof. I see
Oof.
you. I see
Yer.
you.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose this one because it's terrifying. Nobody's listening to the kids. Well, okay, let me start it this way. Um, Somehow Skinner figures out that the kids taste delicious. I can't remember how it happened, but it does happen by accident.
Yeah, a
So,
barbecue lands on one of the kids, and he tastes the barbecue, and he's like,
oh,
"That's
that's
pretty good.
right. Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
right.
good."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly how it happens. So he ends up little by little, well, all the teachers end up little by little punishing the children in detention for no
Hmm.
reason. Blinking, sneezing, they to detention they go because obviously they're harvesting the children to eat them. Not only are they eating the children, they're feeding the children to the other children in the cafeteria. So this is just disgustingly ridiculous. The Simpsons is disgusting. This episode. Oh my gosh, you might be right. This may be neck and neck with the very first Treehouse of
Hmm.
Horror. Um, yeah. So they I remember Uter going into detention. The next day they're eating Uterbraten. And
Yeah.
Skinner can't be more obvious. You can say we're eating Uter and he's in our stomachs right
Right
now. And he's
now.
just making a big joking about it. And the kids are like, huh, that doesn't sound right. But yeah, he couldn't make it more obvious that that's what they're doing. Millhouse, Bart, and Lisa end up figuring it out at the end. I think Bart and Lisa get away. Millhouse doesn't. He dies in hilarious fashion. But also not so hilarious. It's very horrifying because these kids are thrown into a vat with blades. So they're as soon as they fall into the vat, they're getting grounded
It
and
just
chopped up. Very
mince
graphic
meat.
episode, actually. Basically, yeah, it's very graphic. Another thing I liked about it is the colors. I love that it was so graphic. It was a very bright episode. Um, but yeah, very, very creepy indeed. And super arguable that this might be the best Treehouse of Horror ever. Ooh, that's gonna be fun to debate when we're done with all this.
Yeah. I mean, that's my fight.
Yeah.
I think every single episode
Oof,
is goated. You know what I mean? Especially
for
this one,
sure.
because like you said, it's super creepy. And at the very end, hey, children, I'm here to save you. It's Willie. It's Ground Speaker Willie. Look, and I think Skinner with an axe. It's always an axe. Hits
Yeah,
him in the
it's
back with
always
an
an axe.
axe.
Yeah,
And he's
they
like, not
just
again.
stayed with it.
And he just dies. And just this image alone of Skinner with the crosswalk bib is out of control. That is crazy.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
blood. Isn't it funny? Like the Simpsons got away with so much craziness, where some cartoons could even show blood. Like Spider-Man, the animated series, couldn't throw a punch. Nevertheless, show active blood. You know what I mean? And it's
Hmm.
just kind of weird that Simpsons always skated that line between content and children content back in the day when things were a lot more laxed. You know what I mean?
I don't
So
think it was for children for sure, but yeah,
but it's
it
one of
was
those things.
just so happened that kids watched it.
It's like it reminds me of like It's like RoboCop the cartoon. RoboCop's not for children, dude. Rambo the
Yeah.
cartoon. It's about PTSD, but hey, we can make toys out of it. So, like, why are people letting their children watch The Simpsons? And like you said, that was a thing back in the day. Some kids couldn't watch The Simpsons. It was too quote unquote adult for a lot of kids.
Yeah,
A
it
lot of
was
kids just
bad,
missed
yeah.
out on it. It was
Especially
banned.
because for my friends it was because Bart cussed. Like he said hell and stuff. Like like that was it. Just that Bart cussed a lot as a child and like duh, we're not supposed to cuss because we're kids. But yeah, that's what
Fun
it was for a
stuff.
lot of my friends.
Yeah, same here. I had a lot of friends who couldn't watch The
Yeah.
Simpsons and would live vicariously through heathens like me who would watch anything, watching damn Hellraiser.
Yeah.
What's The Simpsons? So my second favorite episode, number two, The Thing and I, another episode I literally quoted at the beginning of this episode of this top 10. One of my favorite iconic all-time episodes, and it's just one of those episodes that just is burned into my psyche because of poor little Hugo, and he's you know what I mean, and just the idea that, oh yeah, and being the only child, I always thought like I had some kind of secret brother or sister out there that I just never knew about, and the idea that there's another me in the walls that gets fish heads and it's like all deformed is like something that really bothered me, and Hugo just kind of being the redhead, literally the curly headed stepchild, and and Homer and Marge have been feeding him and maintaining him this whole time, and it starts very subtle. It's Bart hearing things in the vents, you know what I mean, and you even get a POV, almost like Friday the 13th shot of Hugo looking into the house until
Mm-hmm.
it's one of my favorite shots of all time. They need to they need to sedate Hugo, and Dr. Hibbert has a picture of yeah, he's holding like a picture frame in front of Hugo's face, and Hugo's trying to look into it, and he just punches him in the face through the
Uh-huh.
picture frame. It knocks him out. It's a current meme going on right now about that, and it's just the most hilarious kind of just creepy episode. And what's even worse is that they make the decision that, okay, it's time to swap now. Bart's gonna be in the vents and Hugo gets to sit outside and sit with the family now and be a part of the family. And I think Homer's trying to get something off Hugo's plate. And Hugo's like snaps at him like a rabid dog. And he's like, he has to get his hand back. And Bart's like, "Can I have some?" Like, hey, shut up and eat your fish heads. And
Eat
he's in
your
the
fish
vent.
heads.
Shut up and eat your fish heads. So this is like
Yeah,
one of
they
my
end up swapping because they figure out that Bart's actually the evil twin.
Bart's. Yeah, and Hugo was good, right? Hugo was the good side, and makes sense because Bart's a little
And
dirt.
do you remember Bart's response?
No, I wish I would
Don't
have
be
watched this
so
again.
shocked.
Yeah, don't be so
Or yeah,
shocked.
don't be so surprised. One or the other. But yeah, he was just like, come on, guys. Like,
Come
duh.
on, I'm a
Yeah.
terror, dude. And just the shot alone is so cool because it just harkens things in my brain, like how every hero has like a dark version of themselves. Like Darkwing Duck had Negaduck, Spider-Man had Venom. You know what I mean? Kind of like dark reflections of themselves. And Hugo being that, and technically Bart's the dark reflection in this weird kind of duality. And it's just kind of that idea of you have this secret brother that has been shunned and has literally been living with you the whole time. You're just now becoming aware of it. Your parents have kept a secret from you the whole time, and I was thinking like that would piss me off, as as an only child. You mean I had a brother this whole time? Yeah, he's a Morlock, but he's my brother. I should get to know him. And Hugo's so far gone. When Dr. Hibbert's talking about it, he's just ticking in the corner. He's completely gone. He's completely lost, and this is just like my when I think Treehouse of Horror, I think this episode is like every single time without fail. I think about this episode. It's just one of those nostalgia drills that is just in my brain and I can't avoid it. I love this episode.
That's a good choice. Very good. I like this one too.
Yeah.
I don't remember which other ones are actually with uh
7.
that go along with this one. Yeah.
With
I'm trying to
this
think. Oh yeah,
one.
yes I okay. This one's very random. Like this one, like this one came out during election time, so like it was
Mhm.
an odd one. Yeah, it was an odd one.
Is
Like
this the
as
one
far as
with
like a
the
three. three episodes.
Is this the one where Homer goes through that little portal and goes 3D? Is this the same episode, or is that a different Treehouse?
I
And
no. Oh, maybe it's either 7 or 8. That happens in season 7 or season 8
yeah, the erotic
when
cakes episode.
Homer goes to the yeah
He goes to the
erotic
real world.
cakes, and that's the last one.
Erotic
Yeah,
cakes.
it might be this episode. It might be the
I may be
following
wrong.
season.
Fact check us on that. Whew, I
Erotic
think we're
cakes.
we're at our number ones, yo. We're at our number ones.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Let's
We're
do
good.
it.
We're good.
Number one, quote the
My number
Raven. Never,
one.
nevermore.
The Raven, of course, naturally. Season 2, Treehouse of Horror 1 came out in 1990. I already have one of these on my list, The Bad Dream House. This was the very last one of that episode. Now, for the very first Treehouse of Horror episode, in the beginning, Homer is challenging the children to say a scary story, and he's very disappointed because first he tells the Bad Dream House, and then Bart's like, "That's not so scary."
Mhm.
And then and then they tell the second one, and then they tell this one last. And Homer is like, not in the treehouse, but sort of spying on the kids, like hanging onto the ladder of the treehouse, listening to the stories. So this one finally comes up, The Raven, and this episode or whatever you want to call it, is absolutely brilliant. If you guys know who Edgar Allan Poe is, which I'm sure most who are watching or listening do, and you know the poem The Raven, a very, very, very famous poem. Um, this episode is nothing but the poem. There is no other dialogue but the poem in its entirety.
It's so good.
And it's being voiced and narrated rather, by no other than James Earl Jones. It's done beautifully.
Beautifully.
It's so creepy. It's so magical. It's so smooth. And the cartoon, the animation that goes along with it is great because it doesn't lose its Simpsons touch. And again, mind you, this is only 2 seasons into The Simpsons, where we're not really sure what the Simpsons touch is. But this episode et, I should say, captures Homer and what Homer is to be for the rest of the series. To be honest, because it doesn't lose his rage. He gets frustrated. He almost wants to choke out the bird the way he chokes out Bart. You just capture all of the frustration. Meanwhile, this beautiful poem is being read to you and narrated to you throughout this entire episode. And Bart is the Raven, obviously, as you can see, and all he does is say "nevermore." And and
Mhm.
every single time he says it, Homer gets more and more enraged. Where he's tossing books, he's like, to the point where at the end there's desperation. Where he's just like, "Please leave me alone. Please leave me alone." And at the end of the poem, I wish I had. I used to actually know it, but I wish I had written down the actual last paragraph so I can quote it to you guys, because it ends. That's exactly how it ends, and it just ends with the camera staring right into Bart, or right into the Raven, and it kind of closes in on him as Homer's just so done, so tired, to the point where he's passed out, possibly dead, right? Because I think
Mhm.
that was the whole implication of the Raven itself. Um, and it's so good, so terrifying, and um, I remember it scaring me as a kid, but it didn't scare me because it wasn't super dark. It was the way he read it. It was the way the
Yeah.
episode ended, and it was the way the bird was so mysterious. As a child, you don't know you don't know Edgar Allan Poe from Adam. So it really wasn't necessarily the deepness of Edgar Allan Poe, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was that episode was heavy as a kid, and you weren't really sure why. You weren't really sure why. Outside of that
Which is
bird is messed
unsettling.
up, and I don't like him.
Unsettling. The beautiful read from James Earl Jones, and gently rapping on my chamber door. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the way he read the entire thing was, oh my gosh, so good. In fact, this is why I started at 6 years old, 7 years old is why I actually started writing poetry myself. Is because, man, that sounded so good. And yeah, just I want to do that, and I want to rhyme, and yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny you
I
mentioned, like,
started writing poetry at an early age, probably because of this.
that's amazing, and it's funny you mentioned, like, not really knowing Edgar Allan Poe when we were at this age of watching this, but knowing, like, certain things. Like, I remember listening and going, "That's Darth Vader," to my mom. It was like, "That's
Oh,
cool,
that's
Darth Vader."
cool. Yeah,
Like, Darth Vader's doing the voice, he's doing the voiceover,
that's
and like you
neat.
said, this episode is so it's one of the closest episodes of The Simpsons that's actually art, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, it's so beautifully crafted and so respectful and so
Right.
Simpsons, you know what I mean? And it's just, like you said, it's just a retelling of the original story. And it's so quaint and just amazing. And it's just one of those that just stick with you forever. And like you said, I say season 5, you say season 1. I don't think either of us is wrong. They're both classic seasons. And how many shows hit the ground running this hard? You know what I mean? With an idea. We're gonna do horror.
Right.
We're gonna do a horror special that stays Simpsons, but gives you a little bit more. You know what I mean? And I think this was the perfect foundation for God knows how many tree houses we have now. So many seasons. And starting off with Edgar Allan Poe, because one of the episodes wasn't it a Telltale Heart, one of the other
Hmm.
um kind of three quote court you know third act, because this was the final act, right? This was the very last
Yes,
story,
it
right?
was.
I
I don't
think it
think it
went
was a Treehouse episode that was Telltale Heart, though. I think it was just a regular episode.
okay. I'm thinking because I think they did a lot of Edgar Allan throughout the years, right? Like they did
Uh
a lot
huh.
of retellings. But yeah, just this reminds me of kind of that, where it's just like this is more mature than it needs to be. You know what I mean? Back then, and it
Mm.
just kicks you in the teeth as a kid because it unlocked a new skill tree in your brain. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That's crazy to me. That's so
Yeah,
good.
for sure it did. Yeah,
You're like, I want
yeah,
to write
absolutely.
poetry now. Like, how many things as a child you saw and just inspired you, like to do something you never thought about? I want to draw now. I want to play the guitar. I want to write poetry. I want to cook. Like, there's so many things as a kid that The Simpsons helped inspire in so many people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's fun to watch the kids do it now, like the ones that are on TikTok and go viral and they're cooking or whatever. Like it's fun to watch kids utilize talents that they found interesting and then they're like, "Hey, I can do that."
Hey,
That's the
I can
kind of
do
stuff
that.
that I love to support when it comes to these kids. Like, because I don't know, like I think it was easier for us. There was less to distract us from understanding. Like, hey, I'm kind of bored. Like that's pretty cool. Let me write. And it always starts with your diary. It always starts with just writing out, journaling and whatnot. You know what I mean? When you're a writer, that's how it starts for basically any writer.
Yep.
And I
Have
think
your
the same
journal.
goes for music. You see a rapper that you like, you're like, dude, I want to do that. And I guess I guess too that goes back to writing, but just the idea that you can be inspired by somebody and not be intimidated by them.
Yeah.
A lot of kids don't have that advantage anymore because there's so much to distract them from that. So it's respectable when the kids do um, understand a talent and hone it in as a gift. So
Talent.
yeah, I support all that, but
Remember, talent is nothing without repetition and hard work. You got to
for
keep
sure,
at it. You got to try it every single day. You got to keep doing
for
it.
sure
That's
that.
how you, 10,000 hours, right? That's how you get good at anything. And all it
Yeah.
takes is a spark. And that spark can come from anywhere. And you just have to be mindful of the
Including The
spark,
Simpsons.
including The Simpsons. And that leads us to my number one, Bart Simpson's Dracula. This is a quintessential. It was tied between this and the zombie episode with Ned Flanders. This was of like my top 10 number one Simpsons episode. And it goes back to what you said at the very start of the episode with Bad Dream House. It's an episode that stopped being fun and became legit scary to me. You know what I mean? This is one of the episodes that legit freaked me the fuck out. Like, pardon my French. Um, because they handle vampires in such an organic like way. In what also it was a mix of Bram Stoker's Dracula and Salem's Lot. There's a scene where Bart is like hanging out of Lisa's window, and it's so out of Salem's Lot, and he's just floating in the air. Let me in. You know what I mean? He
Hmm.
has the full teeth and crazy
Uh-huh.
eyes. Scared the crap out of me as a kid, man. I ain't never seen Salem's Lot. I didn't know that was a parody. All I could imagine is someone floating outside my window, just gently racking on my door with full face. Just let me in. It was just like so creepy. This episode, they go to Mr. Burns' mansion, and he's full Francis Ford Coppola Dracula up, and Bart's the first victim, right? And they slowly start to go through the entire town, turning everybody into vampires, and Lisa's like one of the last ones, if I remember correctly. And they go, and Homer and Lisa go back to Mr. Burns' lair to slay Mr. Burns. And they accomplish their mission. They go through and they actually are able to take out Mr. Burns. And what scared me the most is the very last scene of the episode. It's everything seems to be back to normal, and they're eating breakfast, and the whole family turns on Lisa and becomes vampires. They're all, and they all like
Yeah.
go right into her face and they go, "Happy Halloween." It was such a gut punch to me
And then they
because
end with the Christmas Snoopy ending.
yeah,
Remember? That's
it's
and
the
then they go doo 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 doo. They end with the Snoopy
it's so offsetting.
all like yeah, it's yeah, it was so weird, but very yeah, it's so funny.
This is a
Do you
goaded.
remember do you remember go ahead.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
No, go for it. I was
Do you
just gonna say,
remember on the Ugh.
go.
You can't say go for it and then talk. Okay. Do you remember the scene when Dracula first invites them in, and they're walking away, but his shadow's right there, and it starts playing with a yo-yo?
It starts doing tricks in the shadow,
Yeah.
dude. Oh man, I freaking love this episode, dude. And I was gonna say that this is a pretty goaded Treehouse of Horror as well, because this is the one with a devil for a donut. You want a donut? You have every donut in the world. And Satan
All
keeps
the
feeding
donuts in
Homer
the
donuts.
world. Yeah.
All the donuts in the world. And Satan's just sitting there just waiting for Homer to finish. And Homer turns into a blob and just keeps eating donuts. And this is
Never
also the
gets
episode
full.
never gets full. And this is also the episode where there's the gremlin on the side of the bus, and only Bart can see it. You know what I mean? Like playing like on the play on a Twilight Zone, and it's just like
Terror
this is
at 5.5 feet. That's what it's
Terror
called.
at five and
I
a half
remember that one
feet.
too. That's a
Cl-
good one.
Classic episode.
That's a
So
really good one.
this is a pretty
Yeah.
goated, and this is this is Treehouse of Horror 4, right on the tail of Treehouse of Horror 5, and I just this episode used freaked me out because it was vampires. Because as a kid, vampires haven't been scary. We're just coming out of the whole Bela Lugosi. We're too young for that. So vampires are just kind of like jokey. And this is the first time vampires were actually scary to me because the idea of your family slowly turning on you and all your friends slowly turning on you, becoming these things of the undead. And the hero and Bart kind of technically being the star of the show, being the first one gone, was a very like psycho moment where it's like, okay, the star of your movie is dead in the first 5 seconds. Now what do we do? You know what I mean? Like Bart Simpson, the hero of Simpsons, is your enemy for the rest of the episode. Now what do we do? You know what I mean? And as a kid, that just really stuck with me. And just freaked me out. I didn't like it. It was so scary, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? It's one of those to quote our top 10 horror movie quotes, you know?
Bart Simpson was the hero back then. He was our hero. So yeah,
Bartman.
Bartman and like yeah, you're right. Like to take out the first character, like that's yeah,
Bart
that is I
is
that's
ballsy.
pretty cruel, a cruel thing to do for to children.
Who
Because
look up
that's
to
not
Bart.
let's be honest, the Simpsons knew that children were all over the Simpsons TV show. I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
writers knew that the fans were all over the Sims TV show, and most of the fans are children. So yeah, that's pretty fun, disturbing.
And it's also another thing where Lisa goes to the family and she's trying to explain what happened and no one believes her. You know what I mean? No one believes that Bart was taken by a
Yeah,
vampire. And
yeah,
Marge just kind of dismisses her. And Homer just kind of dismisses her until that moment where Bart visits her in her bedroom, floating, tapping on the window. That completely wrecked my brain. I didn't like it. When this one came on, I would skip it. I didn't like it. It was, and because of that, it's my number one because it's one of in a show that's supposed to be fun and funny and irreverent. This was actually scary, and it's like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that cayenne pepper in my coffee. You know what I mean? I just, yeah. So this is my number one with a bullet. Like I said, the only other one, and we probably can get into honorable mentions. Um, my honorable mention is the episode where everyone's turning into zombies, and they finally catch Homer, and they knock on his head, and it's empty, and they go brains, and they push him over. You know what I mean? That's one of my honorable mentions, I would say. What do you have any
that's a good
honorable
one.
mentions, dudes?
I think in that one, he gets his rifle and he shoots Ned, and they're like, "Oh my God, you shot Ned, a zombie Flanders," and Homer's like, "He was a zombie."
He was a zombie. I love that bit, dude. I love it. He
Yeah,
was a zombie. What
yeah,
episode is it
yeah. That's a good
where
one.
is that the same episode where they have the Necronomicon and they have to read from the book to get the zombies to go back to being dead?
I think so,
Yes,
actually. Yeah, I
right?
think it is. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. I think my okay. So my two honorable mentions are Citizen Kang, which is from season
Hmm.
8. Treehouse of Horror 7 came out in 1996. It's an election year that year, so it's an episode about Kang and Kodos, who are the resident aliens of the Simpson series, come down to Earth, and they're running as, at the time, Bob Dole and Bill Clinton. For
Yes.
those of you who don't know who they are, look them up. They were candidates for the presidency years ago.
Learn
Um,
it.
so it turns out at the end of the episode, the Springfield is torn as to who to vote for. Homer ends up exposing that both of them, he rips off their masks, and both of them are actually aliens. Which,
Aliens.
if you ask me, and any conspiracy theorist who loves to watch The Simpsons and goes back and forth in that one, that seems to be very telling. So that's why that's kind of one of my honorable mentions. It's a very good episode and probably really spot on for this season as well. So I would check it out if you haven't yet. My other honorable mention is Fly versus Fly, season 9, Treehouse
Ooh.
of Horror 8, and that came out in 1997. That is the Fly parody, where Bart Homer buys a, I forgot what the machine's called, but a transformation or transporter machine
Like a
from a
transporter
yard
machine.
sale from
Dr.
Dr.
Frank.
Fink's yard sale. He bought it for like 15 cents or whatever. So Homer ends up using it for stupid reasons. He puts one in the kitchen, he puts one in the living room so that he could just grab a beer without having to get up. So he has one by the fridge and he has one next to his couch, and he just like uses it to transport his arm to grab beer and stupid silly shit like that. Bart gets the bright idea to use it to blend himself with a fly,
Like
so that he
actively.
can be a superhero. Yeah, he's trying to be like a superfly superhero type thing, which is what in his brain what he envisions, which in reality of The Simpsons doesn't end up happening at all. It
No.
ends up just splitting Bart into two, where Bart's head is tiny little fly getting trapped into spider webs, and Bart's body is just this giant fly head who's just absolutely incoherent and only wants to eat sugar all the time and tries his best not to throw acid on his family. Um, Very fun episode. There's nothing really scary about it, but really fun and ridiculous episode because they just kind of accept Fly Bart
Yeah.
as a
As a
part of the
part of the
family,
family.
and
Yeah.
they keep trying to shoo away real Bart because he's just this tiny fly. But yeah, that's a really fun one. So those are my honorable mentions.
I'm gonna mention one that I think you mentioned, but it's one of my favorites too, um, which is the groundskeeper Willie as Freddy Krueger episode where he gets burned and comes into the classroom and curses the children and then turns into like,
Yeah,
which was terrifying as a kid.
yeah, that one actually is a scary one.
He has like
That one is a
super
scary one because,
bright red eyes, dude.
yeah, and he turns into different things throughout the entire episode, just like Freddy Krueger basically, and he's just his
Yeah.
whole, yeah, and he doesn't let up. Like he doesn't let up. There's no funniness in his attacks. There's no like let me bide my time. It's just attack, attack, like I
Every
got you
time
and I'm
they
gonna
fall
get you.
asleep.
Yeah,
And
anytime they fell asleep. Yeah,
he has that pitchfork and he hits Bart with it across his chest. And when Bart wakes up, he has to slash across his shirt. You know what I mean? And he turns into like a giant bagpipe spider at some point. You know what I
that's
mean?
right. Yeah,
Such a creepy
the
episode
tractor. Remember, he turns into the track. Well, he turns
with
into the tractor.
the teeth, dude. And he runs.
Yeah,
I think he runs over one of the children. You know what I mean? Because
yeah, probably several of them.
probably several of them.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, that's a
man,
good one.
I know we a lot of our list was from the new older seasons, right?
Mhm.
Um, how do you feel the Treehouse of Horror has stood? Do you feel the Treehouse of Horror stood the test of time? Like just with the multitude of seasons of The Simpsons and this being a annual tradition, do you think the Treehouse of Horror still have the same bite as they did back in the day?
In its own
That's like a
way, I think the formula has stayed the same. I think the formula hasn't changed actually throughout. In that Homer, Homer, Marge is still Marge. Unfortunately, Marge's voice is shot. Like you wouldn't recognize her anymore. She sounds really
Mhm.
old, and it may be time to retire the season for that alone. Retire the series for that alone. Um, but the characters have remained the same, and in the later seasons that I've seen anyway, I haven't seen like this like season 34, 36, wherever we're at right now. But I can guarantee they'll get off some jokes in the tree houses that will be like, oh shit, that's Homer. Not necessarily Oh, that's funny because that happened yesterday. You know what I mean? Like The Simpsons is keeping up with the times and trying to stay
Hmm.
as culturally relevant as possible. And I think that's where it loses its hardcore fans. Um, because The Simpsons never really had to do that. Back in the day, The Simpsons was
Yeah.
just telling a story. But I think the formula, for the most part, has remained the same. So, there's people will call them misses, but at least there's jokes. At least
At
there's
least
you can
it's,
guarantee Homer's gonna be Homer himself, regardless of what the joke is. So there's comfort in that, I think.
yeah. And it's like, how do you truly end The Simpsons? Right? It's been going for so long. It's like it would be like ending the NFL. This is the series finale of the NFL. You know what I mean? It's like it's such, and like you said, our actors are getting older. Like half of them are in
Yeah.
their 70s and 60s by now. So it's like, how do you retire The Simpsons? You know what I mean? And in so facto, how do you retire the Treehouse of Horrors? And I think The Simpsons has given us so much over what, 30 years or something, like 40 years at this
Well
point.
over 30 years, almost 40,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like it's just a testament that, and one of my honorable mentions was actually the Denim episode, a more recent episode, where it's a play on Venom, and Homer Simpson puts on like a jean suit. It becomes like a denim Venom. It's so stupid. You know what I
Oh my
mean?
gosh. I
Yeah.
haven't seen that one, but that's
I
funny.
only watched a clip of it because it's comic books and I'm a nerd. You know what I mean? But
Do you remember the Harry Potter one? It's a
no.
treehouse. But that's the one where Smithers is Slithers and he ends up having to eat Mr. Burns and he's eating
Oh
him, but he's like
yeah, he's
mourning.
crying.
He's like
He's
crying
crying.
as he's eating them. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
that's a
that
good
meant
one too.
that image is burned in my brain of him like slowly like engulfing Mr. Burns. He's like,
Yeah.
and he's like
Yeah. And
crying
he's
really hard.
weeping. Yeah.
It's such like a Nightmare on
Yeah,
Elm
that's a
Street,
good one.
Dream Warrior shit, where it's like so disturbing. You know what I mean? Oh
Okay, so
man.
before we end, Treehouse of Horror 1 or Treehouse of Horror 5? We got to choose. This is a top 10.
Okay.
We might as well end it
Okay.
with something that we can
Okay.
agree on.
Okay. One thing I want to mention, I love that we didn't have any dupes. We had zero
Oh, me
dupes.
too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's rare, especially with something like this. So that's just a testament to how strong this series has been. That being said, Treehouse Safari 1, as it did, it was the most serious out of the entire series. It got funnier as it went along. But like you said, the Raven, uh, um, you know, Bad Dream House, these episodes just kind of stick with you because like you tell they're really trying to bring the horror in the Treehouse of Horror, right? That being said, Treehouse of Horror 5 is just so damn good. It literally was like our 4-3-3. We went over every single episode. And technically, outside of one episode from season 1, I think you covered 2 episodes out of that series, The Raven
I did,
and
yeah.
Bad Dream House. So
Hmm.
I don't know if I can back season. I'm such a fan of Treehouse of Horror 5. It's just so good. But there are weak links. Like to me, like Nightmare Cafeteria is not as strong. To me, it's the weaker of the three within 5. But that's my personal opinion. But I love the Raven, and I absolutely love the Raven. So give me a compelling argument of how 1 is better than 5, and I may just co-sign with you because I'm really
Well, the
close.
only thing I can say is um, number one was well done in that, like you said, it was out here to be scary on purpose. Number five was written well in that it was both. It was scary, it was funny, it was memorable. Um, I'm actually kind of leaning that maybe season five might be the better and top of all the tree houses, simply because of that. It was written well. It had a certain continuity that they don't do in any of the episodes anymore. I think that might be the
Hmm.
only one where Willie was getting axed in each one. They never did that again, as far as I remember. Um, yeah, and again, memorable movies. They did the Shinin, or the Shining, or whatnot. Nightmare Cafeteria, I can't imagine isn't a parody of something. I just can't think of what it is. But Like I
Mhm.
said, the colors were super vibrant in that one. You've
Yeah.
never seen a red like that. Where cartoon blood. You've never seen a red like that anywhere else. The way it's splattered, the way it's drawn, the way Millhouse just falls in and you see him flipping, and then all of a sudden you don't see him fall in, but you hear the of the gears
Mhm.
grinding, and
Of
then
the
you
gears
see the blood
grinding.
spatter,
So
and
graphic.
like it's very graphic. It's very graphic. It's just like, and again, like I said, the through line of that episode. So um, my only argument for season one being that it's season one. It's scary as hell, and again, it has the fucking Raven in it. Like, when else are children going to be exposed to such cultural shit like that? You know what I mean? That was
And
probably the very first introduction to for a lot of kids when it came to poetry.
it was the first episode with King and Kodos, if I remember correctly. Was that the introduction of King and Kodos,
I
or
think
was
you're
that
right that they were introduced in
the
season one
aliens
at
that
the
were in
end, but
that
it might have been
episode?
season two.
Okay, who were the aliens in that?
Oh no, you're right. It was Kang and Kodos when they were trying to get Homer into the beam, but he was too fat.
He was too fat, and they needed to bring in
Yeah,
another ship to get him up there.
yeah. That you're right. And that episode is called "Hungry of the Damned," or "Hungry Are the
Mhm.
Damned," rather. Yeah,
Hungry are the
"Hungry Are the
damned.
Damned." Yeah, that's the introduction to Kang and Kodos as well. And that's a good one too. That's a Twilight Zone episode.
Yep, that's a Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that's a Twilight Zone
It's a
parody.
play on to serve man. It's a play on to serve man.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Remember the book, How to Cook for Humans, and then
How
How to Cook 40 Humans?
to kick
Yeah,
40
like it's
humans.
so stupid. Yeah. It's just
Okay.
space dust, and then they blow the space dust and said, "How to cook 40 humans?" And then Lisa's like, "See, they're trying to eat us." Yeah, that's a good one
Okay.
too. Ooh, but we haven't made a decision.
I don't know. I am okay. Let me look at season 5 one more time. I'm gonna click, and this is rough. I'm gonna click back into the thing. I'm gonna skip to our season 5 kind of like through line. Okay, Nightmare Cafeteria. It's terrifying, right? It's absolutely goaded. Time and Punishment. I will not relinquish on. I love that episode. In the Shinning is
And the shenanigans.
quintessential. It's quintessential Treehouse of Horror. It cannot be quoted. It cannot be brought up. When you say Treehouse of Horror, this is one of the episodes that will automatically come up. That being said, season 1 had James Earl fucking Jones. So I kind of have to give it to season 1. I kind of have to give it to Treehouse 1. I reluctantly
Oh,
relinquish
yeah.
if we have to come to a meeting of the minds, and I will be the one to sacrifice season 5 as number 2, because season 1 is so inspiring and so warped, and such a strong start to something that's been going on for 40 years at this point. You know what I mean? So I recant. I think season 1 just may be the strongest season ever, and I, I think season 5 is in my heart, right? But because it's such a solid back to back to back. But season 1, like you said, that Raven episode is transcendent. That alone is like Jordan in Game 6. How do you beat that? You know what I mean? Um, so okay, that's how I feel about it. If your heart's
Okay.
set on 1, I will roll with you on 1.
My heart is set on one, but there is okay. I'm down for them to be 1 and 2, but that is a tough argument
Tough.
because season 5 is written perfectly, drawn well. The colors, my goodness, the colors, children.
The colors, children. You know, uh, Pinhead
Okay,
is in the
season
Shinning
one.
episode. Pinhead is
Pinhead
there,
is in the
dude.
Shinning episode. Okay,
So,
sorry, yeah, I win.
uh,
I
this
forgot
channel,
about that. Yeah,
yeah,
I really.
this
Oh
channel,
no, that's number. That's number 5. Dang.
season
Oh shoot,
5.
that's a good. That's
Ooh,
our. That's compelling. Ooh,
that alone makes that episode goated. We
yikes.
literally open every episode with, "I have such sights to show you." You guys understand
Pretty much,
how much
yeah.
I love Hellraiser, and urge to kill. Lower, urge to kill,
Rising.
rising, urge to kill, gone. It's so close. You're asking me to pick my children. You're asking me to pick. You're giving me Sophie's choice. You know what I
Sophie's
mean?
Choice.
And I don't
Yeah.
know what to do. I feel
That's
like
stupid.
I feel like King Solomon right now. I kind of just want to split it in half. You know, the Bible is warped
I
anyway.
get it. I
You
get
know what I'm
it.
saying? But if we have to have a definitive winner, I'm super comfortable saying season one is goated. It's the
All
greatest of all
right,
time.
that's cool. And equally, I would probably say season five would be number one. But nah, we'll go with number one only because it's the OG, it's the original. That'd
What?
be the only
What?
like
What?
overarching argument is it's the original. It's
Fine.
the one that brought this all together in the first place. So I don't know.
You
But
heard it here,
yeah, that was
folks.
fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was a ton of fun. Let us know what your favorite Simpsons segment was. I'm sure it's going to be all over the place. Let us know what your favorite full episode is. Do you agree with us that number one is the best? Are you on camp Are you on camp Treehouse of Horror 5 with Mike G? Are you on camp season one with Tootie Odin? Are you just say screw you guys? You know, Treehouse of Horror 7 is the excellent one. You may be right. You know what I mean? With looking at them that way, it's really hard to argue. Toots, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and probably Instagram only at the Love Hub _LA. I'm only here to help promote others, including this podcast, which is my favorite thing to promote, obviously. If you need my hand for any reason of promotion, it's extended and I'm there.
Give me your hands, boss.
No, I'm good. Oh,
No?
also, I do comedy at Kesera on Wednesdays, not all the time, but I announce it on my stories when I do. So, yeah, open mics, mostly open mics. So, yeah,
What
catch me.
city is that in so people can look it up?
Long
What's it?
Beach. Long Beach, 7th
LBC,
Street.
Long Beach.
Woo woo.
Whoop, whoop. If you like this episode, please follow us at our website. We have a website. It's called mastersofthenerdiversecast.com. All the episodes are here and they're happy. And you can see years and years of episodes with me and Tootie going over everything from favorite music videos to favorite cartoons of all time. Such classics on the website. So please do us a favor and check us out there. You can check us out wherever you're listening to your podcast. And always, please, if you're on YouTube and watching this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think of the episode. Let us know your ideas of what your favorite Treehouse of Horror episode is. And lastly, just want to thank everyone and wishing everyone a happy Halloween, our Samhain, our Holyween for those who don't celebrate Halloween and do the whole trunk candy thing. I think I was too old for that. The whole what's before we go, what's up with the whole trunkoween thing where people just pop their
It's
trunks and kids,
it's called
you know?
Trunk or Treat, and it started during pandemic. And I actually think it's a really fun idea. So we're actually going to do Trunk or Treat on Thursday. So
Can you just put
yeah,
like a monster
it's
in the
fun.
back? Can you put someone in the back seat dressed like a werewolf and then pop the trunk
You
and scare the
can.
children?
That's what makes Trunk or Treat so fun. And you're not going up to creepy strangers' houses,
You're not
which
going to people's
helps.
houses and
Yeah.
dealing with that. And remember, there was this one neighbor when Halloween would come around, she would shatter glass and spread it on her grass so nobody would step on her lawn. And she was super scary.
Ooh.
And it was the
Oh
scary
my
house.
God.
We weren't allowed to go to her house because she would set booby traps and shit, so the kids wouldn't bother her. And she had her light on and everything. Like she was inviting drama. This was like
Oh,
back in
what
the
a creep.
day. What a jackass. Those be safe for Halloween. Please check your candy. Keep an eye on your kids. Just don't let your kids walk around by themselves through these streets. I don't care where you live. Dress up with your kids. Enjoy the holiday. I've of course been your host, Mike G. Toots, you're a lifesaver. Once again, thank you so much for being on this episode and sharing some
Thank you.
Simpsons memories. Check out our top. Did we do a Simpsons episode? Top five
Yeah.
Simpsons.
We
Yes,
did a top 10. That was a very lengthy episode, actually.
top 10 Simpsons episode. So if you want more of this niceness talking about the Simpsons, check out our top 10 Simpsons episodes of all time. That is also across all podcast uh, platforms. With that, of course, once again, Mike G. And I will close this episode out with one of my favorite Simpsons quotes of all time. Look towards the skies. Look
Look
towards the
towards the
skis.
sea.